college, we all work with the young people. We all engage the young people. We all seek to support the schools. So all of us serve as program directors so that we can have our hands and focus on the people that really matter, and that's the young people.
It's a pleasure to be here from the city of Phoenix. And one of the main things that makes our program unique, I would definitely say, is our model. We are a government and public-private partnership model. We are a City of Phoenix public library program. So our place-based college access center actually operates out of our large downtown hub library, the Burton Barr Central Library, that sees about a million people each year, and it's in downtown Phoenix, right in the midst of Phoenix Union High School District, which is the school district in Arizona with the lowest college attainment rates and the highest rates of poverty. And so it's a really great place to be located. Another aspect that I would say is a unique strategy for us is that we open our doors to anyone. And so rather than specifically serving high school students, for example, our work is to provide college access services to anyone who needs them. And so we serve a variety of folks. We do a lot of outreach and work with Phoenix Union High School District and their feeder middle and elementary schools, but we also serve a lot of adults. It was interesting earlier in the day when Representative Weatherford was talking about the number of non-traditional students out there. It really made me think about our beginnings, and when we opened in the library just about 3 years ago, we were told by the librarians, you better expect to serve adults because you're going to be located right behind the computer lab and you're going to see a lot of adult students. And so we said, well, absolutely, we're here to serve whatever need arises in the city of Phoenix in terms of preparing more people to successfully enroll in college. And that's definitely been something that's been a strong area for us, is working with adult students, high school students, also students. We host a GED class in our center each week, and so we work with students who have dropped out of high school and are re-engaging in credit recovery programs or in GED programs. And so I would definitely say one thing that makes us a little bit different is that rather than being based in the schools and serving a specific population, we really belong to the community. And really, the whole premise behind College Depot, it's been a community investment from the beginning, and we have a very active advisory board consisting of community-based organizations, local foundations, and educational partners. And so it's really a great partnership model. Thank you, Judy.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here and for having you Aspire as a part of this panel, and congratulations, Braulio, and the folks at C.A.N on the amazing work that you've done. I have the pleasure of tracking your work through my colleague, Ann Coles, and have heard all along the way the amazing work that you're doing, so congratulations on today. You Aspire, I think the uniqueness of the You Aspire model, and if I go back and forth between You Aspire and Access, that's because we're literally in the middle of a name change as an organization, so I'm still getting used to calling ourselves You Aspire. But the uniqueness of our approach is that we focus entirely on issues of affordability. We partner with schools and community-based organizations, starting in middle school, going all the way up through college completion, and we work to ensure that finances don't get in the way of aspiration, matriculation, and completion. And we do that in a highly personalized approach where we focus with young people and families on a timely sort of developmental basis on information and supports that they need starting in middle school and going up to that degree completion point. And so that provides us with, I think, the real opportunity and power to be a strong collaborator. In fact, collaboration is one of our 5 organizational values because we're not in the business of mentoring kids. We're not in the business of providing SAT or ACT preparation. We're not helping folks get GEDs or doing academic prep. We essentially are focused on all of the many issues that I know a lot of you in this room are all too familiar with, the many issues as it pertains to helping young people navigate an affordable pathway to and through college. And so we've been doing this work in Massachusetts for the last 27 years, and now with the support of the Kresge Foundation and a number of other supporters have launched our first location outside of Massachusetts in Miami, Florida. And this fall we will serve 2,000 12th graders on a one-to-one basis, helping them and their families navigate the path of paying for a higher education, an affordable higher education. You know, it probably, I'm preaching to the choir here when I say that this is the second largest financial transaction that most young people will make in their lives, or most people will make in their lives. Yet, for the most part, without organizations like all of ours in their lives, young people and families will make this process by themselves, underinformed, and so that shouldn't surprise us that we have more than $1 trillion in student loan debt, that we have skyrocketing indebtedness on average of our college graduates, and that we have serious, and that what that then translates into is serious implications for the economic opportunity that we're promising young people with a college degree as a result of that lack of information, that poor support that young people and their families are getting. So we're thrilled to bring this college affordability support to South Florida as a first step towards our goal of reaching the lives of 1 million young people a year by the year 2017.
Excellent, thanks. Tom and Bob talked a little bit about how they engage families, but I wanted to hear, I know in the audience we have some folks that work a lot with families in this area. Wanted to hear from some of the other panelists about how their work is engaging families in the process. Judy, can I start with you?
Sure. Well, I'll say that in Phoenix Union High School District, which is the school district surrounding the College Depot, we have a very high Latino population, and in fact about 45% of the parents in Phoenix Union High School District speak only Spanish. And so engaging parents and especially bringing bilingual college access help to Phoenix has been a huge part of our focus and our energies. And we've done so with a lot of great partners. Well, first of all of our programming is available in English and in Spanish. And one of our most utilized services that we provide is one-on-one assistance with college advisors. And our college advisors on our team are bilingual and able to engage the family in the college planning process. And we've also worked a lot with partners including Univision, which is obviously you guys have it here too, and a wonderful Spanish media partner. And we do a telethon each year with Univision to get the college-going message out to Phoenix area families about college as a next step and kind of creating that college-going culture in the neighborhoods, and then really having a referral of a place that people can go and get help with those logistics. And we do believe that having family engaged in the process, as research shows, is necessary. It's absolutely important.
Thank you. Leroy, do you want to comment on that?
I'll comment briefly. This is tough. In the framework that I gave you, first of all, we will encourage and plan and work with our individual schools and their programs to bring families into the picture. So, for example, when we talk a lot about college visits, we're now talking about family college visits. We're now rethinking the college visit and thinking that it needs to be at a time when families can be available. So we're assisting our schools in thinking about how to involve families with that. Also, the biggest thing that we've had to do is, as I told you before, at each of our programs we have a team. That team is composed of people inside the school. More and more we are putting parents on that team. Not just the person who is the PTA point person at the school who is oftentimes overwhelmed, but trying to get that PTA or the parent association or the principal to identify another parent. The other thing that we found, and we found this by accident, it wasn't initially planned, is that the more you bring the families into the discussion, what you'll start to see is you'll start to see families, you'll start to see moms and dads who start asking how they go back to school. And that has been extremely powerful in convincing the children to stay tuned to their academics so they're college prepared.
Thank you. You build off of what Tom was saying with Take Stock in Children, how they have found that families are beginning to ask questions about how they can get onto the Miami-Dade College campus and begin taking classes. So that's wonderful. Tom, I'm going to skip over you and come back to you in a second. Nadine, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. Well, our initial contact is with the student and their nominator at their high school. However, as the student is working through the dynamic assessment process and they're moving on in the voting, we then start engaging the family. So we have what we call a family night, and we bring in the parents and we start talking to them about what is this process that your child is going through and what the expectations are. And then again, after the scholar is selected, we bring the families in for our financial aid night. And so we start talking about the financial aid packages for as I said, we provide them full tuition. Our university partners provide our scholars with full tuition, with 4 years full tuition to their universities. However, someone needs to cover room and board and housing, and how is that going to happen? And so we meet with the parents on that level. And then we also have our award ceremony, which is done annually. And that's when we not only recognize the scholars and thank our universities, but most importantly, we thank the parents. And so we give them an opportunity during that program to talk about the process that they went through with POSSE and to celebrate their success, because we know that without them, their student would not have been the amazing leader that they are today. So,
Thank you. Vivian?
I think similar to what Leroy touched on, is College Summit is capacity builders. So we're consistently trying to support the schools in developing structures and systems that they keep and maintain. So one of the things that we've done is we've provided them a strategic plan on how they're going to engage parents, specifically around affordability and financial aid. So, and with the incentive is we get funding from city to actually give them dollars to do a high-end, very structured, very targeted FAFSA drive that's driven by the students. So when we talk about peer-to-peer, we engage the peers to then facilitate and work with the school team to create these FAFSA nights. And then the goal is, how many parents do you intend to reach? What's your strategies around that? Here is funding to be able to do that. And then we provide data at the end. This is how many of your students actually completed a financial aid application. So not only structure and process, but metrics that you're reaching a real goal. And so for us, making sure that schools are consistently year to year encouraging and knowing that students, teachers, parents, principals are all a part of that process on a given basis every day, and not kind of the add-on, is I think more of the bigger goal of what we do around our work. It's structure, capacity, sustainability, and once College Summit is transitioned out of that school, that's still happening, and it's still continuing, right? So that's kind of the end goal.
It's a perfect segue to my next question, Vivian, and I didn't even set you up. So I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear from our panelists. So much in our work is focused around impact. Funders want to know what kind of impact you're having and how you're measuring your success. So could each of you just spend a few minutes commenting on sort of how you're tracking that you're getting to your ultimate goal for your organization? And Tom, I'll start with you.
Sure. I'm real happy to report that Take Stock in Children this year had received a review by the Florida Legislature, the OPAGA Office of Program Policy and Government Accountability, and where they looked at various programs throughout the state of Florida and found that Take Stock in Children was the #1 mentoring program with regards to certain outcomes that we measure. And what we look at for success are a few variables. Of course, what we look at is are our students at the appropriate grade level in reading and math. We also look at grade promotion and whether our students are being promoted to the next grade. We look at absences and the number of absences that our students have. And we also look at behavioral situations, number of indoor and outdoor suspensions. This is data that we are collecting on a quarterly basis. But then also data that we're very proud of, and this is data that we often are using for when we do like funders and to approach the business community to help them to realize the impact that their dollars will have with regards to scholarships, because we receive money from the business community for scholarships that we're able to purchase from the Florida Prepaid. They want to hear about graduation rates. They want to hear about college enrollment rates. They want to hear about college retention rates, and they want to hear about college completion rates. So we maintain all of that data. Last year, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Miami-Dade County Take Stock in Children program, last year we had a 100% high school graduation rate, and we had a 100% college enrollment rate. So we use that data, of course, constantly to promote our program. But then we also track our students. As I mentioned, we own their scholarship all the way until they graduate. So we had a 95% retention rate for students who enrolled in college from that first year. And ultimately, we had last year a 68% college graduation rate. And when we compare college graduation rates, a majority of our students, 35% of them are African American, 65% Hispanic. And when you compare those rates on a national level, the Hispanics and African Americans are graduating at a 18 and 20% for a similar population that we're dealing with compared to our rates. So we're very proud of those rates, and those are the things that are very important when you approach the business community. That they want to know, what is the rate of return on investment? If I were to give you these dollars, where are they going to? So for us as an organization, having data and having that data available to our sponsors is very important for our growth.
You want to speak to that, Vivian?
Sure. Data is like my sweet spot here. We love it all day. So we've just been requested by the assistant superintendent in Miami-Dade Public Schools to begin using our data, our school dashboard data, as their school metric around college readiness. So this is, there's milestones built in from 9th through 12th grade that the curriculum revolves around. So for every grade level, there's clear milestones that they are receiving and that we believe they should complete based on evidence that's tracked every day. So the student is taking a core course, say a freshman experience course. It's the integrated with college summit curriculum. It has a college and career readiness. I want to consistently make sure that we're thinking about college and career readiness curriculum embedded into their traditional freshman English experience. There's an integration, so there's milestones tied to what those students need to complete, which is done through an online tool. So at any given moment, a teacher, again, can track the milestones. This happens 9th through 12th grade. Of course, by 12th grade, they're very clear, impactful milestones, applications, college applications, financial aid, ACT scores. So the fact that a student or a teacher or a principal could come in and pull this dashboard at any given moment and look at the percentage of students who have and haven't completed it, and then again, making that data actionable. So what's the actions? Once you know what's going to happen, is it going to be the CAP advisor working with that student? Is it going to be another student engaging that student? Is it going to be the teacher engaging that student? Is it going to be a collective work in terms of a class using that data? So we've been extremely excited about the fact that the district has really taken that model and taken that data and taken it to the next level of actually including an MOU that the college enrollment rate metric for those schools that we're in will actually be a metric that they will be used around their funding in terms of, is it increasing year to year? And we're asking principals to create their metrics. So if your enrollment rate right now for college is 38%, within 3 years, what do you want that percentage to look like? And how are we going to use these tools to get to that number? So the data is basically being used for all students, not just specific groups of students, and for that school to use it as a metric to then move forward around our college and career readiness goal.
Bob, you want to go?
Yeah, so one of the major reasons behind the change in our name is that for the first 20 or so years of our organizational life, we were entirely focused on driving more and more kids in Boston and in Massachusetts to college. And we sort of started to ask ourselves, what is the most important metric that we all should be driving towards? And that's degree attainment. So it's really one of the motivators behind our name change. And our belief in terms of our intervention is that high quality college affordability support is frankly the sort of untapped lever that will lead to greater college completion rates. And so I share with you a couple of metrics that we use internally that is our personal kind of proof point of that. For the class of 2000 of young people that Access supported, 75% of those young people graduated within 5 years of their high school graduation, compared to the citywide Boston average of 38%. For the classes of 2008, 2009 that we've now tracked into their second year of college, 84% of the young people that we've provided with college affordability support have enrolled in their second year of college versus the national average, the overall national average of 66% of students who start college that enroll in their second year. So those are the ultimate goals that we are driving towards, which is degree attainment. In terms of interim metrics that we use two that are pretty regular. Well, one that we use now and one that we are in the process of tracking and hope to in a few years be able to share more broadly. But the first is around the amount of financial aid that we help young people leverage every year. So last year we helped our 3,500 12th graders that we worked with in Massachusetts leverage or receive $54 million in financial aid. It's all good financial aid, no private loans, no loans outside of subsidized Stafford loans counted in that figure. The ultimate goal for us over time, in addition to the degree attainment rate, will be tracking indebtedness. And what we hope to be able to show is that students that we work with get a degree with less debt than their peers and the national average.
Go ahead, Leroy.
We focus on college-going rates. Over 90% of our 12th graders in our programs go on to college. We focus on the behaviors that we talk about in terms of attendance, in terms of disciplinary referrals. And then with some of our partners, for example, we've got a program nationwide with Ernst & Young, the accounting firm. And in 15 cities, their professionals mentor students, and we assist them in that program. They've developed some metrics that not only look at the college-going rates of those students and the persistence rates, but they're developing metrics to evaluate the value that their employees are receiving from being involved in the program so they can sustain it, justify it, and grow it.
Sorry. Trying to keep track of time, and it's telling me I only have 15 minutes. Nadine, you want to go next?
Sure. We pretty much measure, ideally you would think as a college access program we would measure graduation rate, but let me focus on Miami for a minute. Miami has been around since 2009, so essentially we do not have graduates as of yet. But in comparison to our national numbers, we have a 90% persistent rate on campus, and in Miami we're at 96%. So our Miami scholars are persisting on their college campuses, which is really, really an impressive number. But overall, POSSE not only looks at the number of students who graduate, but we also look at, more recently we're looking at the careers that our scholars are going into. Which direction are they going into? Scholars that are going on to higher education, those who are going on to medical school, law school, and we're starting to identify which industries that our scholars are persisting in that regard. So the nice thing is POSSE is dynamic in regards to the rates that we're identifying and those that are aligning themselves with the scholars that have gone through our program.
Great. And Judy, you want to round us out?
Sure. Well, we definitely track, a lot of the similar things, but one thing that I will mention is that now that we've really seen, we've been in operation for almost 3 years, we're starting to see the real differences in the types of populations that we serve, and we realize now that it doesn't make sense anymore to measure them in the same capacity, which is what we've been doing for the past almost 3 years. And so we're working with an external evaluator now that's helping us create a better system so that we can properly evaluate in these different populations in different capacities. For example, the work that we do with middle school students versus a traditional graduating high school senior versus a student who's dropped out of high school versus a current college student or a non-traditional student. And so I'm very excited and would be happy to, of course, share those results when they come back, but we're working for this entire year with an external evaluator to be able to answer that very question that we've been struggling with. So I'm excited about that opportunity.
That's great. Look, we are going to transition to questions from the audience, so while I'm giving people a moment to step up to the microphones, I want to do a quick rapid fire, and my question that I want a hopefully one-word answer from each of you is, if there was one thing within your initiative that you have to call out that is absolutely essential to your success, what is that one thing?
Mentors.
Okay, thank you, Tom, for kicking it off. Tom says mentors. Nadine, you want to go next?
Oh, wow. Leadership.
I know they're mad at me now.
I'd have to say data.
Data. I thought that would come from you.
I was going to say peer leaders, slip it in.
Okay.
Collaboration.
3 words, raising college aspirations.
Mine is 2 words. Public access.
These people aren't rule followers. That's why they're the leaders of these organizations. They're the kind of people we like to hang with, right? Are there any questions from the audience if you want to step up to the microphone and address any of our folks up here? This is when the facilitator's job is supposed to get easier. Thank you, sir. Are you stepping up? All right, I appreciate it. Could you please state your name and where you're from before you pose your question?
My name is George Spagnola, and I'm from Argosy University. First of all, I am a first-generation Italian-American, so where were you guys when I needed you? Huh? You just weren't there? No. First of all, most of you weren't born, so I know where you were. My question, I thought an excellent discussion, and I think Ms. Reno touched on it, and I think what you're doing is phenomenal, but I'm wondering, have you thought about the populations that you serve, the 20 and 30-somethings? I think that's a tremendous amount of brain power and potential that I'm not sure that we look at. And I was wondering if this comes up in your various organizations and if you have addressed it.
You want to go first?
Can I just ask a clarifying question, which is, do you mean how do we re-engage them in our work? Is that essentially?
Well, yeah, I didn't hear much about what about the 20 and 30-something who has all the potential and, all the scholarship probably, but they didn't get to you. You know, they might have, they got out of school, they had the grades, this happened, that happened, life happened. You know, what are we doing to get to that group? As well as certainly the wonderful work you are doing.
I'll go first and say our organization isn't focused on that. But I will say this. I was going to say that my organization isn't focused on that. But I will say this. We should be a little more focused on it. Because a lot of what we do will raise the college aspirations. And we may not see a completion in a typical 4 or 6 year period with some of our students. And what's beginning to happen to us is that people who were in our program 5, 6, 7 years ago, because we've been around a little while now, are coming back to people that they're connected to in the program and trying to find ways to get back to higher ed. So that is a really good point about what may not be being discussed in this discussion.
I can touch briefly on, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I can touch briefly on the work that U Aspire does. I didn't touch on all of our programs, but there is an element of our work in Massachusetts where we offer drop-in locations, sort of more community-based or place-based model that is open to, and we partner with GED programs and other types of programs that serve a non-traditional age student population. And provide them with the services, the same kinds of services that our high school students would typically take advantage of, in part because we do see, I know someone else on the panel mentioned earlier, that as you start to engage with young people, often the adults around them, whether they're older siblings or parents or aunts and uncles, they start to get the idea in their head that maybe this going back to school, going to college idea might be for them, and they start asking, can I get financial aid, and how can I do this at the same time as my son or daughter or niece or nephew or neighbor? And so we have sort of built out a component of our programming to address that audience.
Nadine?
When we think of posse, you typically think of high school students, 18-year-olds or so, right? Well, I just wanted to mention that posse there's this new initiative that we're launching, and it's called the Veterans Initiative. And so we may not hit all 20 to 30-year-olds, but there's a percentage of them that have served our country that Posse is now launching a Veterans Posse. Our first Posse will be with Vassar College. We're sort of piloting it this coming fall in New York. And our hope is that out of all 9 of our cities, we will have one veteran Posse operating out of each one of those cities. So that may answer to that pool of folks that did miss Posse when they were 16 or 17.
And so, so the non-traditional kind of alternative model, and down here in several schools in Florida, in Southern Florida, the age can go from 18 to 24. Mm-hmm. And so, in some of our other states, in Baltimore, and actually we were just approached by the South Florida workforce to begin working with more of their out-of-school population, and still contain and maintain the same framework in terms of milestones and college-going culture, and college and career exploration, and all the tools that we bring to a traditional high school. But transitioning into that population, the 18 to 24, with the end goal being that, you know, they still need to have a college and career plan, they need to have a post-secondary plan, but also when you're dealing with that population, a lot of times there's additional financial aid dollars tied to that population that a lot of them aren't even aware of. A lot of these students are students that don't have GEDs, who dropped out, and they'd be surprised to know that there's so many programs that are there to support them to actually get a post-secondary education. So that's another aspect of who handles that piece, but I think our piece, even in that population, is relevance. Why is it important? Tying what they need to do in terms of GED to the bigger picture of having a post-secondary plan and going on and being successful.
Can I just add one more thing? I do get to visit about 20 cities a year, and I would say that the model that Ms. Reno had tends to be the dominant model. Instead of the model of a community of a not-for-profit that functions out of the school, it's an organization that's connected to a community center or a library. You talked about Phoenix, but if you check out what's been going on in Boston for a long time, Terry has been involved in funding at the Boston Central Library. Bob, what's the name of the library?
The Boston Public Library.
The main Boston Public Library has had in its basement for many years an operation. Philadelphia has a similar operation. Washington, D.C. has a similar operation to its public libraries. So it's a lot of times through the libraries, and oftentimes through other community organizations that have a geographic basis connection to a particular community that these kind of adult-driven initiatives are coming out of.
In fact, Dan Coles has been a big part of developing many of those community centers across the country.
Including ours.
The College Board has funded some things. The College Board, for example, funds a couple of these centers across the country. They fund one in Washington, D.C.
You have a question?
Yes, I'm Evelyn Phillips, and I'm from Central Connecticut State University. And there's been a lot of talk about the schools to prison pipeline, and we have zero tolerance in the schools, and a significant number of kids, because of the zero tolerance, got kicked out of school. And of course, we know there have been a lot of restraints in terms of financial aid and all those kind of issues. So how do we address those children? Because we see a significant number of them who end up in the juvenile justice system, and their opportunities are almost cut off immediately.
You want to go ahead?
I can comment for Take Stock in Children. To be honest, we do not deal with that population. But the population that we do deal with are the victims, or we consider the students whose parents are incarcerated. And that is one of the areas that perhaps gets underlooked a lot. And as part of our admission procedures, when we're bringing students into the program, we have a rubric that we use. And if students have one or two parents sometimes that are incarcerated, those are some of the students that we target. So we don't necessarily target the juvenile justice, the juvenile delinquency component of the student population, but we do target students whose parents are incarcerated.
There are a few school districts who are developing through their alternative education programs initiatives. They're not as well developed as some of the things we're talking about here that serve high schools. For example, in Kansas City, there are two really school districts in the city. One is called the Central School District, and I work at the Central School District's alternative education facility. And in that facility, we have about 25 students, mostly males, and about half of them have had a contact, let's say, with the criminal justice system. And so it's very pragmatic. What they're doing, two things to sort of get them college ready. One is they are relaxing the high school graduation approach. What I mean by that is that, for example, with one young man, he was very talented. He was in a drug-infested home, got kind of caught up in that. When he got to the alternative school, he didn't want to go home every day because the home was a bad environment. So he stayed in school. So they actually put him on an accelerated graduation path. So he actually finished everything he needed to do before it was time to graduate, but emotionally he was not ready to graduate. So what they did was they actually are extending him another year with the idea that they need to build up they need to keep him in high school a year, because although he's academically ready for college, emotionally, mentally, he's not developed, ready to live on his own, and he needs to move on his own. So they're relaxing the approach with those students so that they can give them more support to do more things to ready them academically and emotionally. Unfortunately, I have not run across many initiatives that are organized through organizations like ours. They're much more pragmatic, they're much more driven by the school system, and in some cases they're driven by the criminal justice system. Washington, D.C. is trying to do something through the criminal justice system to provide those kids with opportunities to go to the local school, which is the University of the District of Columbia, first with online, then with on campus.
Yes, please.
So right now, the schools that we're in are probably in the most poverty-stricken, high-crime areas in Miami. We're in Liberty City, we're in Alapata, we're in Opelika, we're in Little Haiti, right? So usually when a student is engaged by the criminal justice system, at some point they're probably coming back to schools in those communities. So I believe, the work that we do is the whole school model, regardless of who the student is, regardless if they're an A student or a 1.9 student, that they should be receiving this information and this curriculum as just as important as English, math, reading, and so forth. And so when I say that, I also say that it's about them figuring out, this is the life that you've created, now let's help you create opportunities to work around that obstacle. So whether it is you may not qualify for financial aid now because you've been charged with a drug charge, let's figure out what we need to do to find you alternative scholarships, alternative avenues to still be able to move on to a post-secondary plan. It may not be a 2-year or 4-year institution. It may be an internship. It may be an apprenticeship. It may be a certificate. But you have a post-secondary plan that leads to legal opportunities. And so that is a real issue for us here. I think Florida, and don't quote me, is like maybe the 5th in youth offender rates in the country. So that's a clear, real issue and reality with the majority of the schools that we're in. And so it's not either, I think, an either or, it's an all. Like everyone needs to understand how they're going to plan for their future and work from the baseline that they have to work with.
Can I just make one quick comment?
Yeah.
Which is, Vivian actually touched on this, and I wanted to say it. I mean, I think that we all need to have serious conversations with our policymakers about financial aid rules that are attached to incarceration or conviction of some kinds of crimes. Our opening speaker mentioned today, we know that this opportunity, a college degree, can be the game changer in the lives of young people and families, and that it will not just change those young people and their families, but their children and their children's children over time. And to essentially say to a young person or an adult who's ready to put their lives back on a positive path, that they aren't eligible for aid to help them go to college and put themselves on that path, is a pretty serious condemnation on our society. And I hope that we all take those policies pretty seriously and try to do what we can to push our policymakers to think differently.
Excellent. That's a great way to wrap up this session. I want to thank our panelists. Please join me in thanking our panelists. As facilitator, while we're up on this stage, I am responsible for the welfare of these 6 individuals, and I recognize hungry eyes when I see them. This is not your dismissal. I'll let Braulio do that, but I did want to take just a moment, because I won't be back up on the stage, to thank Braulio and his team for putting together this Florida College Access and Success Summit. Since Braulio embarrassed me, I'll tell you that he's a brand new dad to a 2-week-old baby, so this was no little feat. Thank you. He is looking fresh.
Did you get any sleep last night?
Right.
A little bit.
Thank you, Stacy. I do want to take a moment to on the baby note. The hand sanitizer, you may have noticed, like, all the hand sanitizer around the room. You're like, what is this about? I was heading into work one day, just this week, and I heard a story on NPR about this whooping cough phenomenon. And some expert from some prestigious university got on and started talking about how dangerous it would be for someone who had this cold symptom to be around an infant. And when Delia, my wife, and I went to the pediatrician for the first time with our beautiful daughter, Nora, she was talking about how you want to stay away from large crowds. And so I said, well, I have to be at the summit. And so so I asked Anke, I said, maybe we can just get some hand sanitizer and just put it around. So the parent instinct is already kicking in, as you can see. So anyways, I want to take the moment to recognize, I am privileged to work with an amazing staff at Florida C.A.N, and I want to recognize them now, because without them, this would not be possible. And so Lalita and Troy and Anke and Anker, if he's still here, could you please stand and just be recognized for all that you've done? Thank you for all the extra hours that we won't be able to pay you for now. We heard some really great components, and I'm smart enough to know not to keep anyone away from their lunch, especially a 12:30 lunch. But I just want to thank the panel for what you said today, and I think there was a lot of nuggets of important strategies that I hope were helpful for those of you out there who are interested in implementing some in your community. Encourage you to do that. All right, so what we'll do now, on this emphasis, this whole piece about non-traditional students, it's an important topic, and it's one that's very popular across the country. How do we re-engage the non-traditional student? In Florida, we have 2.1 million working age adults who have some college credit, but for some reason didn't complete or earn their degree. And next week, we'll be releasing a policy brief on that population in Florida, and we will be highlighting some of the trends in Florida in terms of what's our response as a state. How do we respond? And so there's some very cool initiatives taking place right now. So just keep your eyes out for that brief, and we'll make sure you get a copy of it, since we now have your contact information forever. So here's what we'll do for lunch. We're going to start with the panelists, and then the first 6 tables, and then FCAN staff, if you could, we will let the next 6 tables know when the buffet line is at a point where we can release more tables. So at this time, the first 6 tables plus the panel. Thank you so much, and we will reconvene at we're eating in here, so enjoy lunch.